You know, talking about past relationships in your current relationship, I used to think, and let me be honest, I used to think that everything you've done in your past you should share with your new partner. So, maybe not boyfriend or girlfriend, but maybe if you know that you're going to marry this person. I used to think that they needed to know everything about your past, who you've been with, sometimes why you've been with the person, for how long you were with the person, what you guys did. You want to give them a lowdown on some of those things. But now, I think different. I've realized that not many of us know how to handle information, especially sensitive information, especially with the people we say we love. Because we love in a very wonky way. Sometimes what we call love is trade. It's trade by barter. You give me this, I give you that. Now, because also we've come from either pain or insecurities or trauma, right? We don't deal with those challenges. Some people it's fear, some people it's heartbreak, some people it's trust, right? We don't deal with it. We then bring that same you, because you're the only constant person in every relationship. You bring the same you to the next relationship, right? So when you bring the same you to the next relationship, your insecurities haven't left you. They might have even doubled. Your fears haven't left you. They might have doubled and gotten you to a point where you say, I will never love again, or never give my heart to any human being to break it that way again. You have fears, you have doubts, you have resentment, you have anger towards maybe the male species or the female species, and you're saying, I will never, ever, ever, ever let my guard down again. Now, this same you now wants to get into another relationship and expect it to be okay. Now, you are going to be in a relationship with another person who also has their baggage. Now, imagine you, for example, you're the one that has been maybe cheated on a couple of times. And now you're meeting this guy and you guys are in a relationship and you've dealt with a lot of insecurities back and forth. Now this guy is telling you all the things that he's done with other women and how he also cheated on his last girlfriend with other women. How are you going to feel about it? Your insecurities, your fears will well up on the inside like water rising. Hot water, say, boiling hot water. And you won't be able to deal with it. Now, sometimes consideration in this kind of case is more important than honesty. And honestly, I said that thing with heaviness because I've come from a place where I used to think, no, you can say anything, you can say everything. But sometimes I've realized now that we cannot handle people's truths. We can't. And so I remember some guy that I was dating. He told me, he first of all tested me out with some information. And I really, really went off. I insulted the person. I said how that person was useless, lazy, all kinds of things. All he did was, what do you think about this kind of person? And I said, what? Never. Useless. I gave the person all kinds of names. Now, do you think the person could have told me that it was himself he was talking about? He tested me with the information and I did so poorly. I failed that exam. So of course he couldn't tell me. And then one day I find this thing out on my own. And I'm so pained. I'm like, you and I are really close. Why didn't you tell me this? And he reminded me. He said, remember that information I gave you that day? Do you remember what you said? I said, yes. He said, I couldn't tell you because you had already bashed the person completely. So I honestly couldn't handle his truth. And for men who haven't been taught, a lot of men who haven't been taught to share their emotions and be vulnerable, and it's okay to cry. You don't have to man up all the time. You don't have to be strong for everybody. If you meet that kind of man who's giving you that information and you trampled on it with so much abuse, he's never going to be able to tell you stuff again. So really, at the time he gave me this information, I couldn't handle his truth. And then I was offended when I found out, and I realized that he couldn't tell me because he couldn't trust that I could handle it. So he was more considerate than honest. So sometimes you got to gauge the person that you're in a relationship with. If the person is open, the person is mature and is not in age, in stage, and in emotional intelligence. Because there are 70-year-old men and women who are insecure, right? If that person is emotionally intelligent and can handle certain things, then maybe you want to test them out with a few information before you're. I remember listening to a client of mine who said she told her husband about some of the escapades she'd had with other men. And every time in their marriage, once she does something or he does something and they have a fight, he will use it against her and tell her how she's a useless woman, she's a prostitute, all because of the past, the story she told him. Of course, you know what happened? That relationship went down. It went completely out and down. And so they're no longer together. So sometimes you need to be sure that the relationship you have is one of understanding and maturity in terms of emotional intelligence, and your partner can handle what you're about to say. I used to give this example that when they asked Jesus when he's coming back again, he said even he does not know, it's only his Father that knows. So something could have happened. Either Jesus didn't tell them completely when he's coming back because he didn't think he could handle it, or genuinely he didn't know, only his Father knew. Which then means his Father didn't think Jesus needed the information. So if you want to use that, and for me, a lot of the stories in the Bible are illustrations for me. So if you want to use that analogy, you want to be sure that the information you're passing on to your lover is information they can handle and not information that they're going to use against you later. That's what I'm going to say about sharing information about your past. If they can handle it, then be my guest. But once again, just be sure that they can really handle it, not that they say they can handle it and then they hold it against you. Otherwise, the truth is we're in a new relationship. We're going into the future. The past cannot be relived. It can't be touched. You don't need the information unless it's detrimental, or is that, oh, I had a child with somebody. Then you can share that information. But if it's, oh, how many people did you sleep with? How many people did you go out with? What did you, some of that information, what was the best sex you had? And then every time they will now be comparing to see whether this sex is better. Some of all of that is unnecessary, It's unnecessary. Make the person that you're with feel loved. Love yourself, then you can make them feel loved. Make them feel appreciated, seen, and vice versa. And then you guys just, go into the future creating the relationship you want to have, rather than going into the past that will not serve you. That's all I'm going to say. My name is Adiola Kingsley James.